red tag team right after 9/11, and we were hired. Now, this was not a government. This was not a government agency doing this. We were private contractors that the government hired to do all the resume reviews and the background checks and the screening. And it appeared to me after working there for a few weeks that it seemed like the more qualified you were in security or intelligence or law enforcement, the less chance you had of getting a job.
Yeah, they don't want to actually get real people because they want a bunch of crooks they can put in that'll let them ship drugs things through selectively. Is that accurate?
Yes, and the fact that we had people, the way they worked it was they ran the resume program through monster.com. And if you wanted to work, let's say, at Denver International, you would fill out an application and a resume and send it in. And if you wanted to do different positions in that airport, try to get a position somewhere, you had to send in double that. We had people that were so desperate to get a position, we had 3-foot-high stacks of resumes and applications because they said, I'll take any position in any airport anywhere in the United States.
Now, do you think that's because a lot of them, as we've seen, are pervs that want to be able to touch children and they can't get away with it at Disney World? Because we're seeing that just convicted pervs and defrocked priests as the leaders of the airports.
Well, when we got done, we reviewed 3.5 million resumes in 4.5 months. I'm sorry, there's no way to do accurate background checks in that short of a period of time. And we ended up still hiring 70 known felons in that mix. And we were so secret down there. It was down in Reston, Virginia, is where they hid us in a hotel. And we were not allowed to talk to the press. We were supposed to hide our badges anytime we left.
But I mean, to be clear, this is 10 years ago. This guy was currently doing this, and I don't know what he thought, saying where he was at and everything, because they came after him. And that's the last I've heard. But I mean, what do you think of, he's saying this is new, though. He said before they'd hire pushy thugs and people and control freaks. He says now they want criminals and they're hiring them out of the corrections rehabilitation program.
Back then, they kept pushing us. You know, we've got money at stake here. We got money at stake here. The only thing I can put together between what happened then and what's going on now is that they're trying to push in more ways to rape the taxpayers for more money so that they can stay in power.
All right, sir. Anything else you'd like to add? No,
you've got a great show, man. Keep up the good work. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm an InfoWars member. You just keep up the good work, and we got your back.
Thank you so much. Yes, he's probably talking about Prisonplanet.tv. We have a 15-day free trial. All right, Jesse Ventura's coming up at the 8 after. This next segment, pushing Ventura for you, Brian. I'm going to come right back to TSA worker to get his take on this, because we know they're hiring pedophiles and people and putting them in charge. I mean, we know they're doing it. And we know Stalin and Hitler did it. We know, I mean, this happens every time, but I mean, I want to hear directly from you, because I hope it isn't as bad as our other whistleblower was saying. Okay, my friends, Jesse Ventura is scheduled to be coming up. We'll call him in about 2 minutes. We've got Billy Corrigan coming up with a bombshell interview I taped this weekend. Believe me, when I say bombshell, it's bombshell. Let's go ahead and talk to Brian, who's a TSA worker. I guess current or former. Let us know. Thank you for calling in.
How's it going, Alex? It's a privilege to talk to you.
Well, tell us. I mean, the whistleblower we had yesterday said that he's involved in hiring, and they now, this is a new policy, they want criminals. Have you heard anything like this?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things like that, but I just want to vouch for what the last caller said. I totally agree with that. But also, a lot of my fellow workers, they also, like, it's going to sound sick, but they also play games like, let's see how much we can get away with. You know what I mean? Like, how much can we touch? I don't do that, but I hear a lot of other workers basically playing those sick games, and it's very, very sick.
Why would someone want to spill somebody's dead grandpa's ashes on the ground and then laugh at them? I mean, I just don't understand that.
You know, people are sick. This country is going to crap, and like I said, TSA just hires the most disgusting, most evil people they can find.
You just hit the nail on the head. That it's not just the police or the TSA or any of this. As a culture, it's getting very sick. Now, have you heard anything about hiring criminals?
I don't know any specifically, but I do know, like, a lot of people I've talked to do have criminal backgrounds. And also, a lot of, like, for instance, a lot of slips that are placed in the bag saying that the TSA checks your bag, and if something's missing, they're deliberately going and taking these items, taking these, you know, personal belongings, you know, because, like I said, it's kind of a game to them.
Well, we've seen that where they either leave marijuana in and say, enjoy your weed, or they take stuff. They stole a baby rattle or a teething ring at JFK that was for my daughter in a little box. They unwrapped it, stole it, didn't like the other rattle, left it, thought that, I mean, and that was like 7 years ago. What else can you tell us? So you're saying you work at an airport with TSA currently, you're TSA to be clear, and there are people bragging that they have criminal records that work there.
Yes.
What type of criminal records?
Robbery, theft. I don't know of any people personally that have, I guess, you know, child abuse or anything like that kind of nature, but a lot of them, just by talking to them, you'd be able to tell that they are pretty much criminals.
Well, I mean, that's what criminals do. They brag that, hey, I've been in jail. Hey, I've done this. Hey, I've done that. So you're saying you'll be, what, sitting around? Give us an example, like sitting around the break room and they talk about how they're, you know, convicted robbers, or what do they say?
Pretty much stuff like that, and like, it's disgusting. I'm telling you, the games that they like to play. Let's see how far we can touch this person with before they complain. Let's see how far we can get with this little kid. You know, like, just completely disgusting, evil, demonic, just you name it.
Well, that's what the whistleblower said yesterday. He said now they're outside the checkpoint. There was a mother with 2 kids, and he goes, watch this, I'm going to go mess with her, and went and searched her belongings. What about good-looking women? I have seen what you'd call a hottie over and over again. I go, watch this. Are there people that like to pull hotties out?
Oh, most definitely, but you'd also be surprised that the people that actually don't specifically go for the hottie, they'd rather go for the old lady, they'd rather go for the child, for, you know, they would rather, you would think that they'd go for the hottie, but they wouldn't.
See, I mean, attractive women are very beautiful, obviously, but I couldn't imagine wanting to make them let me put my hands on them. It just sends shivers up my spine. But I guess I'm not a sicko. Thank you so much for your courage, sir, calling in. We're going to have more TSA tell-all. We're going to get the documents. This is the type of thing they may come after us for. Please pray for us. We'll be right back with Jesse Ventura. Well, he's one of my favorite guests, and he's a friend of mine. He is the real McCoy, a real patriot who loves liberty, and he'll tell you like it is. Jesse Ventura, movie star, star wrestler, best-selling author, former Minnesota governor, also a mayor. His new book is out, and I should add, it's available at Infowars.com. It's excellent for people that are still in the whole left-right paradigm, Demo-Crips and Republicans. And I've got a few news clips we're going to play later where he's on CNN, MSNBC, you name it. And they're like, how dare you, call them gang members in the parties? Or how dare you imply 9/11 could be something than what we were told? We're going to get his take on some of that. Because it's admitted that the West is using al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria to overthrow the governments. I mean, that's even in London Telegraph, LA Times. I showed it to you last hour. If you're a radio listener, I stream video at Prisonplanet.tv, but I read the headlines on air. This is so crazy that this is going on. Now, Jesse Ventura has had a big battle with the TSA, as you know, but they won't even give him his day in court. We also want to get an update. We haven't talked to him in 2 weeks about where's the TV show that was finished 4 or 5 months ago. And also, I have confirmed from program directors, and you've heard them here on this show, radio stations we're on and that Eric Mancal-Muller's on, because we're on a lot of the same stations for whatever reason, like the Big 810 out in Orlando. They haven't had the problem, though. Other stations have, where when Jesse Ventura's on and talking about the censorship of his episode or FEMA camps, there's a scrambling that happens. Now, we don't know if it's at the satellite, the radio satellite. I'm on a similar one to Mancal, but a different one. Or we don't know if it's the EAS that's wired in at the hub point. by law now at the radio station transmitter. And I've talked to engineers. They say, yeah, they could send a radio control and scramble it. And now Obama has announced, this is in Reuters, AP yesterday, that they're going to have EAS break in with and take over your cell phone with presidential announcements. And then your phone's going to have a presidential ring. And then it will override whatever call you're on. Same thing with TV, cable, everything. So let's talk about the censorship of the police state episode, what's happening with the new episode. And I know he was on ManCal talking about this. We investigated it and interviewed program directors on air and off air. And let me tell you, it's freaking them out. So, Jesse, that was confirmed. What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, it won't affect me with the cell phone, Alex. I've never owned one, nor will I ever, so I'm going to plead ignorant on that. Unfortunately, I won't hear the president's messages because I don't use a cell phone, so I guess I'll have to get them some other way, or you can tell me about them. But, no, I think it's very dangerous what's going on between that and that they now allow these unmanned drones, these surveillance drones are being okayed to fly throughout our country. I hate to say it, but our Bill of Rights, as I state in my book, is in shambles. I mean, we've got government that just ignores it. They don't care. We don't have habeas corpus anymore. That's been suspended since George Bush started his folly in the wars. Obama's never reinstated it, so you don't even have a right to a lawyer anymore in this country. And I don't know when people here are going to wake up and realize that the Democrats and Republicans don't have your best interest in mind.
Well, I agree with you. Let me give you the headline because the guys were able to actually pull it up so you can read it. And it has a link to the White House announcement. And so radio listeners can also find it. The headline up at Infowars.com from that article states, and we'll throw that back up on screen here real quick. DHS cell phone alert system follows you around. Presidential message to have their own distinctive ringtone. And we have links to the White House announcement and the Department of Homeland Security statement. And get this, Governor, Walmarts are phasing in telescreens with big sis on them telling you to look out for terrorists.
Well, I guess they're going to inform us well, Alex. Isn't that a wonderful public service they're doing for all of us?
Weren't you in a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where they have billboards saying, watch your neighbors? This is called The Running Man?
Yeah. The Running Man is becoming quite prophetic. We don't quite have a game show like it because, it was based on a game show. And actually, The Running Man, for many people that don't realize it, it was written by a gentleman named Richard Bachman. Well, that was a pseudonym for Stephen King. Stephen King wrote a group of short stories, The Running Man included under that name. But it originated from Stephen King, so if anybody would know about bizarre things and have a bizarre imagination, it would be Stephen King. But he's like a prophet because a lot of the things that he writes about, and him and George Orwell, are now coming true today. And again, we haven't quite got to the point where we have the Running Man game show, but we're to the point where reality TV is getting pretty darn close to it.
Well,